Welcome into another edition of the Cory Sanning Show, everybody. I'm your host, yours truly. I don't think I need any introduction on my own show. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? We'll decide that in the future. But we've got a fun show for you tonight. Thank you for those who are tuning in live, either on YouTube or on Facebook or on X. So not a lot of sports topics. The training camp just kicked off. We're in the dog days of summer. Really, school's just about to start again. Baseball's in full swing, and although I'm an Orioles fan, not much to cheer about. And I'm on a huge losing streak on DraftKings, so thank you baseball for that. But got a fun show for you today. Going to be reacting to some spicy comments made by Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia about my alma mater, the University of Tennessee. Get a little reaction to that. Then we'll take a little step forward. Is he going to be able to back those comments up this year, even though he wasn't able to last year? Well, we'll see. I got a long way to go before that one, but college football is just on the horizon, so get us into a little bit of groove for talking about that. And then, obviously, we'll get into the Dallas Cowboys and how Jerry Jones is once again mishandling contract negotiations of a star player. And then we'll get into a little fun at the end, debating top 5 football movies of all time and, a little bit of Madden ratings. Of course, we didn't address that last time, so we're going to have to get into that this time. But first and foremost, this episode is brought to you by my good friends at Clean Eats, specifically Clean Eats Knoxville. Clean Eats, it's not just a diet, it's a lifestyle. They've been powering me on my weight loss journey. They make meal prep so easy. All you have to do is go online, cleaneats.com. There's a new menu every single week. Just pick out your favorite meals. Literally, place your order. You can pay online or in store. Go to cleaneats.com. Clean Eats, it's not a diet. I just butchered the catchphrase. It's not a diet. It's a lifestyle. This right here is the lobster mac and cheese. So if you all have any idea how excited I am to get this show over with, that's sitting right there for me to keep eyeing. So welcome into the show. First topic we're going to be getting into today, it concerns some college football. Haven't really talked about that much this offseason, given the fact that most of this show has been dominated by NFL headlines, but we're going to get into some spicy comments made by Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia. As we all know, took college football by storm for one weekend last year when Vanderbilt finally beat Alabama for the first time in I don't know how many decades. And he made a lot of noise after that. He ran his mouth quite a bit, and he even ran his mouth prior to last year's game in Nashville against Tennessee. So we're going to take a look at what he had to say really quick. It's pretty interesting coming from a school like Vanderbilt, who's more known for their hospital and educational decree, more so than athletics. So we're going to get into what he said. Keep in mind, for some of you, this is not PG. So if you have sensitive ears, you might want to cover them for a second. So here we go.
I want to fucking beat Tennessee. And I need everyone to be on the same page.
We can beat Tennessee literally any given Saturday.
We're not leaving that stadium on Saturday without a win.
They think they're going to destroy us. Fuck every single one of them dudes, We're going to win this game at all costs.
You're low. I want to fucking beat Tennessee.
That game. I can't knock the confidence. I think we've all been there as young athletes and people in the content creator space every once in a while where we thought more of ourselves than we actually were. I've certainly been there, but that game last year ended 36-23 in favor of Tennessee. It was one of actually former Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava, or as I call him, Stinko Amalivia. His better performances against an SEC opponent, and that's not saying much. Diego Pavia in that game threw for a grand total of 104 yards, a touchdown, an interception, had a QBR of 43.7. He did rush for 41 yards. Granted, came on 11 carries. You don't really want your white quarterback doing that too much. That's just me, but he's definitely no Lamar Jackson. A lot of confidence coming off of one win. Now, granted, it was against Alabama, and it was the first time they had beaten them in, like I said, 40-plus years earlier in the show. So you can't knock a kid for having some confidence, but come on now. We can beat Tennessee any given Saturday. I'm waiting on this any given Saturday. And that's just me being objective. Some of you may not like the Vols. Some of you may not like Tennessee. Some of you probably despise the SEC in general that are tuning into this show. I know I have a pretty big Big Ten audience up north. But just imagine if you're an Ohio State fan and the likes of Indiana says we can beat Ohio State on any given Saturday. You taking them seriously? Didn't think so. I mean, even imagine, you can't say Pac-12 anymore because they no longer exist. I guess you can throw Oregon in the Big Ten mix as well. I'm still getting used to this whole conference reshuffling that happened over the past few years, but I'm more of an NFL fanatic, as you guys have come to, find out than anything. But the further question that we're going to, I mean, I forgot to update the bottom line. Silly me. I get it. You're a rival. Hated in-state rival. This is the rivalry game for Tennessee at the end of the year when it's rivalry weekend near the last game or two of the regular season. And it's always been Vanderbilt, even though, arguably they have a bigger rivalry against Florida and then obviously third Saturday in October against Alabama. But the real question that I wanted to dive into is, will Vandy actually have a chance against Tennessee in Knoxville this season, given the fact that Nico Iamaleava is gone? He's at UCLA, given the fact that Tennessee will be, having a new signal caller under center. Probably didn't foresee this coming prior to this whole that whole fiasco with Nico and his, more so his representation or his family, his father in particular, demanding $4 million. It's been funny how they tried to clean their act up so badly. And I don't mean badly as in they put a lot of effort into it, but it's literally they're just throwing shit at the wall and hoping it's sticking, and it's not. It's liquid at this point. It's dripping off the wall. I wanted to play with the top tier talent, so you go to UCLA. I mean, a sour grapes, I don't care. But does Vanderbilt have a chance against Tennessee in Knoxville this season? Oh, part of me wants to say, the objective part of me always wants to say yes, of course, any given Saturday, just like any given Sunday in the NFL. Any team can be beaten because, college is less parity than there is in the NFL. But I guess if Tennessee struggles on to replace Dylan Sampson this year, if they struggle to find consistency in the receiving core, if they struggle to find consistency under center, that'll be a big question. Got a pretty good running back group. I've, confidence that they'll be able to still rush the ball effectively. Got a good defense. I mean, they lost some pieces, but they had a solid core built up after last year. Jamon McCoy's back, one of the best defensive backs, if not the best defensive back in college football, at least at the corner position. Vanderbilt, they had a nice win. They had a good little stretch, but they beat Alabama. So what? Texas A&M beat Alabama a few years ago. Did they do anything after that? No. Tennessee beat Alabama this year. They went to the playoffs, but got knocked out in the first round by the eventual defending champions, Ohio State. And it wasn't even close. Most of the playoff games were for those people who had the misfortune of going against the Buckeyes. But I get it. It's college. It's rowdy. We love our teams. We love our schools. I bleed orange till the day I die. You cut me open, it's either going to be, it's more than likely going to be purple and black, but then in the second vein, you're going to find orange. Been in my DNA since the time I was born, before I was born, really. And since then, Vanderbilt has been just a blip on my radar, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Who knows? Maybe I'll be wrong. Everyone said Tennessee wouldn't get back to relevance. Granted, they haven't, they didn't capitalize in 2022 when they lost Hendon Hooker to a torn ACL, and they defense gave up 60 to South Carolina, and they missed out on the 14 playoff at that point. That was a national championship that was a national championship caliber offense. Defense wasn't good enough. Maybe if they had last year's defense, it'd have been a different story. Not saying last year's defense was the best in all of football, but Tennessee was the only team in the playoff that went in with a top 10 defense and offense nationally. So that's even, for as much as Nico Iamaleava struggled last year, that's something to write home about. But we're going to move on from college football. Spent a good 10 minutes talking about that. We'll get into it more as the season gets closer and closer, as fall camp begins to wrap up. Obviously, a lot of uncertainty in Knoxville here this year, but we'll see, because Tennessee did come in, I believe, at 18th in the USA Today coaches poll. So We'll see how that translates to the AP rankings. I think they'll come in somewhere between 15 and 25. It wouldn't surprise me if it was more in that 18 to 21 range, like we saw from the coaches poll. Just a lot of uncertainty. We'll definitely see what happens. Next topic we're moving on to. As you all know, Micah Parsons requested a trade, however you want to dime it, on Twitter, on X, from the Dallas Cowboys. Was taken aback by, what he called basically, blindsided me with negotiations when my agent wasn't present. We all know, the whole Jerry Jones's old business style. When he negotiated with Deion Sanders, he didn't negotiate with Deion's agent. He negotiated with Prime himself. It's just not the way it's done anymore. We're in a new day and age. And business isn't conducted the way it was when Jerry Jones was, albeit a young and upcoming and successful owner and general manager for the Cowboys, when they were winning Super Bowls and they were, putting people in the Hall of Fame. I'm not saying they won't still do that, but at the same time, it's not, the triplets of Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, and, having Deion Sanders on that defense. I can go on and on and on. Jimmy Johnson. A lot of Cowboy fans aren't a fan of Barry Switzer, but they did win a Super Bowl. We'll get into that another time. But Jerry Jones is sticking by his guns. He believes in the old school handshake. Man has a nice firm handshake. That's how he bought the Dallas Cowboys. I get it. A long time ago. This is Jerry Jones. I believe earlier today, when asked, and Jerry talks to the media. We'll get into that after. But this is Jerry Jones earlier today when asked about the Micah situation and how we expect it to unfold. Take a listen, and we'll get to that on the other side.
It's my understanding nothing was put in writing. So how would you describe a deal getting, so to speak, done and then walked away from?
I bought the Dallas Cowboys with a handshake. Took about 30 seconds. And I gave the number, shook hands. The details we worked out later. As a matter of fact, one of the details involved a lot of money, and we had to flip a coin over that. But the fundamental, I'm buying, and you're going to sell it to me for that range, that's done. And those are done with eye contact and handshake.
So was there...
So just so you understand why the way that I communicate with people that I negotiate with. So, but let's leave it at that. There is no question that in the case of a player contract, you have to have it in writing. All parties do. We have a contract in writing, yet we're still talking about renegotiating it. So much for that.
So what's the sticking point for you right now at this point?
Again, there are no point. There's points of varying degrees of influencing, not having something done, but nothing that I would say is out of the ordinary.
Nothing that I would say is out of the ordinary. I.e., I'm used to butchering these negotiations so badly, but I end up having such a fat checkbook that they can't say no to me at the end. We saw it with CeeDee Lamb. We've seen it with Dak, albeit we could argue if Dak's really worth that much. And who wouldn't have expected to see it with Micah Parsons? Now, Micah Parsons is he's in that group. Is he Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Max Crosby in terms of consistently having that game-wrecking effect on any opposing offense? I've seen too many stout offensive lines give Micah Parsons fits. I've seen Micah Parsons disappear in too many big games when the Cowboys really needed him. I mean, Skip Bayless nicknamed him 11 from heaven. I think he's even abandoned that nickname. Skip Bayless might be the biggest Cowboys homer I know on national media, aside from, Marcus Spears, Swagoo, all them who played for Dallas, which they've got a reason. Skip just jumps from, I don't know. We'll get into that later. But Jerry Jones is, fundamentally, is he right? Yeah. Hell yeah. We love a good handshake, communicative deal. We love holding up to your word. That's how every man should operate. That's how every person should operate. It's called operating with integrity. But Jerry then goes into, that's how I bought the Cowboys. Great. Tell us an old wise story. And then goes into, we have a contract in writing, but it's his fault that it's not signed. Basically, deflecting blame onto the other party. In this case, Micah Parsons saying the reason that, he's not paid what he wants because he wants more, or because the way I negotiate this or that. Jerry's got to get off his high horse and realize that, I mean, sometimes players are going to, these players are prima donnas, a lot of them in today's NFL, especially the younger generation. I mean, my age or younger. It's just the way they operate. A lot of times players don't want to sit through those negotiations because they don't want to hear the possible downsides or negatives that you have to say about him, given, Micah, he listed his reasons out on Twitter. He said, injuries, even though I lay my body out on the line, which is all true. The agent is supposed to be the peaceful go-between for that, to where you don't hear those things. Makes sense? That's one reason why it took Lamar so long to get his contract signed with the Ravens, was because he doesn't have an agent. So we knew that wasn't going to come into play. So he was going to hear those things. Eventually they got the deal done. But in this case of the Dallas Cowboys, it's just not that. That's just how Jerry operates. And it's going to be a day he operates until he I don't think Jerry's going to retire officially. I think he's going to retire on his deathbed. And then who knows if Stephen Jones will take up his dad's old habits. Who knows what's going to happen? But this has been the Cowboys for decades now. Always so much potential, but so much goes wrong whenever you don't expect it to. They're like the Bungles of the NFC. And sorry for you Cincinnati fans that are tuning in live, if any of you are, or for those of you that tune in later. That's just the Cowboys. I hate to say that Stephen A. Smith is right about something, but he is right when he says what can go wrong will go wrong. Just in case in point, a couple years ago when Lamar won his second MVP, I'm just going to put this conversation to bed. It was Dak's award, Dak or Brock Purdy's award to lose, and they lost it. No one really had an outstanding season. Dak could have secured that MVP if all he had to do was not fall apart down the stretch and get the Cowboys the 1 seed or potentially the 2 seed. He couldn't do it. That's what Tony Romo, go back to 2006, botching a snap and having to try to pick it up and make up for it and run to the end zone. He gets tackled just short. Dez, did he catch it? Yes, he caught it, but the ref said he didn't. So there's that. And then there's also the Mason Crosby field goal, which somehow looped from the heavens, and some non-existent wind inside of Jerry World pushed that ball over the upright and through the uprights, over the crossbar and through the uprights. And then it happens in negotiations as well. So, am I surprised? No. It's hard. I mean, there's going to be candidates and suitors out there for Micah. I mean, heck, they've even named the Ravens one of them. And honestly, I don't really see that happening. You'd have to give up too much, and the Ravens just don't have the cap room to sign him, given the fact that they're going to want to sign Kyle Hamilton. They're going to want to sign Tyler Linderbaum and Isaiah Likely to long-term deals as well. I don't think they're going to have the cap. I just don't see that as being realistic, barring a unforeseen miracle. But there's plenty of suitors out there for Micah Parsons. But Jerry Jones is going to make it. He's going to make Micah Parsons stand on the edge of the cliff and either grab a sharp knife to save himself or take the money. And he might have to grab that knife. Who knows where he would go? But this is going to be the Cowboys' motto until something either changes or Jerry steps down. And I don't see Jerry Jones stepping down. So, I mean, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Jerry Jones's ego is costing the Cowboys Micah Parsons one of the best, one of the premier pass rushers in the NFL? Let's get to a few comments. Official Study Boy says that Penix has the best spiral in the league. I think we said that in our fantasy group chat earlier, man. I think Rob put on point that Aaron Rodgers is still in the league. So, sorry. Long way to go to prove that. SRT Outlaw agrees. Dez definitely did catch it. And we got Brandon Wise coming in from Facebook. First comment from Facebook. I do appreciate you tuning in. I think they start Joe this year and then aim for Manning soon. I think Dak has reached his use. That, I mean, is that out of the realm of possibilities? Definitely not. I mean, I can't believe they already paid Dak what they paid him again. It was almost like the Ravens when they, fell into the Joe Flacco trap and they had to pay him after that Super Bowl. You had no choice. The guy bet on himself and delivered, but then never made up for it after that. And then 2016, they signed him again and they gave him a $40 million signing bonus. That was for one playoff appearance following that Super Bowl. So you might have a point. Joe Milton has all the requisite assets and talent to be a NFL gunslinger. He just we all know that accuracy. That's why we called him Overthrow Joe. But Arch Manning, it's going to be interesting to see how his draft stock elevates this year. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that. Okay. You like Joe Milton at QB. Best arm in the league? Best arm in the league? Joe Milton? I mean, maybe if you say strongest, but best comes with accuracy. Best arm in the league, talent-wise, I mean, you can't really go outside of Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, probably. I would probably put him as the best pure thrower of the football in the NFL. But no, he was talking about the Cowboys. Joe Burrow's not on the Cowboys. Joe Milton's on the Cowboys. Joe Burrow's on, we all know where Joe Burrow plays. But yeah, best pure spinner of the football, probably Joe Burrow. I can't really argue that one. So we're going to move on to the next topic, though. And the next topic is kind of a fun one. As we all know, and I think it's been widely acknowledged by both the national and local media, is that Kyle Hamilton is probably the best safety in all of football. The numbers and the film back it up. Nobody at that position can do all the things he can do. He can line up at the line of scrimmage. He can line up in the slot. He can line up outside and over the top. As we all know, the Ravens defense changed and became the number one defense in every category the second half of the season last year when he was appointed the quarterback of the back end after Marcus Williams, just that project just went into free fall. But Madden, once again, has Kyle Hamilton ranked. Well, not once again, but he's ranked the 7th best safety in Madden 26 coming up. 7th. He's only at a 90 overall. To give you a good comparison, Marlon Humphrey, who is on the other side of age, but had an all-pro year last year, was fantastic, got back to his all-pro form, is rated a 91. Kyle Hamilton's going into his 4th season, I believe. And you've got Antoine Winfield above him. Minka Fitzpatrick, are you serious? Buda Baker, Xavier McKinney, and Derwin James. Am I cool? I'm cool with Jesse Bates being a 95. I'm cool with that. But Kyle Hamilton, I mean, if you want to put him at 95 and make him number 1, but Kyle Hamilton's got to be number 2. He's got to be at least a 93. 90. I can't name 7 better defensive players pound for pound in the NFL better than Kyle Hamilton, let alone 6 safeties. I mean, they did have Jamar Chase at a 98 before Ocho had to step in and be like, no, 99, which I agree with wholeheartedly. I can't believe they actually initially had Chase at a 98. He was the best receiver in all football last year. Obviously, Justin Jefferson takes the cake as their cream de la crop number 1, but Triple Crown winner, 1,700 yards, I believe it was 17 touchdowns, over 100 receptions. Guy was a beast. Just has so happened he had to be having to be playing with the worst defense in the NFL, which more than likely will still be the worst defense in the NFL this year. But, I mean, rounding out the top 10, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Harrison Smith, I'm okay with that. But 90, Kyle Hamilton at a 90, I'm kind of losing brain cells just looking at that. But, yeah, I see who number 1 is. Like I told you, I'm cool with that. If he's a 95, I'm fine with it. But the rest of this is just ridiculous. It's a trash list. I think Madden's going to have to check itself midway through the season on these rankings. The only person that I see staying where they are is Jesse Bates. We'll see. I don't buy it. He's not better than Kyle Hamilton at this stage in his career. And you won't ever convince me otherwise. And last topic of the day is actually going to be a fun little nostalgic one. It actually has nothing to do with the NFL currently. But with it, football season approaching, a lot of X accounts and Twitter accounts and social media accounts alike have been posting their top 5 football movies. That's right, top 5 football movies of all time. And I came across this one today when I was scrolling through X, just, browsing for content for the show tonight because it's a bit of a slow night in terms of news and, training camp content and sorts. Came across this top 5 football movies list, and I was pretty intrigued to debate it, considering that it's actually pretty compelling. Pretty compelling. Number 5, we got The Waterboy. Number 4, we got Friday Night Lights. 3, we got The Longest Yard. 2, The Blind Side. 1, Remember the Titans. I'm cool with 1 and 2. I don't think there's any logic. I think you're crazy if you think that there's a football movie out there right now better than Remember the Titans. Just bringing together the times of segregation and brotherhood and just gnawing that in the butt, basically. Denzel Washington. I could go on and on and on. Remember that speech at Gettysburg when they ran Lord knows how many miles at 3 a.m. in the morning? P.D. Jones, Rev, Louis Lastic. We all remember him. I'm cool with that. And Blindside, okay, so listen, the story of The Blindside might be a lie, and it's very sad that it was. I was actually really disappointed. But The Blindside's got to stay. That is a fantastic movie, and it never gets old, really. It never gets old. I watched that movie when my brother and I first came down here on summer vacations back in 2008, 9, I believe it was 9. But we'd always have movie nights with our pawpaw, who's my dad's dad. And that was one of our favorite movies. And honestly, it never got old. I still, to this day, always think that Michael Orr's going to pick up the Tennessee hat instead of the Ole Miss one. And then I have to remind myself, oh, wait, this happened a long time ago, and you weren't even really paying attention to football at that time. But The Longest Yard at 3. Now, listen, The Longest Yard is funny, and it's got a lot of great cameos in it. But as a film, like as a story, I'd have to switch The Longest Yard with Friday Night Lights. I would put Friday Night Lights at 3. I just think the story is better. It may not have the star power that The Longest Yard had, with a mixture of comedians, Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, a legendary Burt Reynolds, who actually appeared in the original Longest Yard, mixed with Michael Irvin, Nelly, just the pop culture, Terry Crews. That was the movie of 2005. I remember that, like, I think I was in 2nd grade, and that's all anyone was talking about. My dad actually bought it when it first came out on DVD. I remember it was at Kroger's. It was back when DVDs were $20 when they were brand new. And it was worth it. It was a good movie, but I can't put it above Friday Night Lights. Can't put it above Booby Miles. I'm going to go with Booby Miles at number 3, and I'm going to put The Longest Yard at 4. Maybe people will be mad at me for putting The Waterboy at 5, but I'm cool with it staying there. I mean, yeah, it's classic. It's nostalgic. It's almost like that Happy Gilmore, Adam Sandler era. Happy Madison, 51st Dates, that Adam Sandler. But overall, I just think the star power of The Longest Yard and the timing and the way it came out and the way it just invoked so many emotions, from good ones to bad ones. I mean, The Waterboy does too, but it's kind of a, I don't know, you put it in a word. I'm trying to think of the word for it. It's just like The Longest Yard just feels more real. Just that story of The Waterboy just doesn't feel like it'd be feasible at this day and age. See what you all have to say. Little Giants. Little Giants is the best. Okay. I can't put I rewatched Little Giants a few months ago. Good movie, but I don't think it's a top 5 football movie. It's Rick Moranis, Ed O'Neill, classics, but he had John Madden and Emmitt Smith in there, and it is kind of like a nostalgic retelling of football at that time compared to like The Longest Yard in 2005 and the football movies now, because when Rick Moranis is giving his inspiring halftime speech, just go out there and have fun. You always can beat them one time. He says Joe Montana throwing a touchdown pass, or Emmitt Smith going for a long run, breaking off a long run. We're used to hearing like Adrian Peterson. At that point, he hadn't even said Barry Sanders yet. But yeah, Waterboy. Friday Night Lights is better than that movie. How No Gridiron Gang. It's just not top 5. I can't put it. Gridiron Gang was a good movie, but it wasn't that great. It wasn't. I mean, I could think of plenty of sports movies, but if we had to put general sports movies, I wouldn't even put Gridiron Gang maybe in my top 10. Varsity Blues is good, but it's kind of corny. It's kind of, and I don't mean it's corny as in the story is bad. Just when you look back at some of the acting, it just doesn't feel authentic. Varsity Blues was good, but I just don't think it didn't have the cultural impact that these 5 had. And then my honorable mention to the top 5, I was going to say like movies like Gridiron Gang, Varsity Blues. Those were definitely some honorable mentions. Little Giants, honorable mention, but man, I could really think about it. I mean, heck, good football shows, All American. Best sports movies ever. SRT Outlaw says, Remember the Titans, and Coach Carter is 2. But if I had to, oh man, that's tough because that's basically the same movie, but different sports. Oh, man. Coach Carter or Remember the Titans? Coach Carter or Remember the Titans? We might have to get into this one on Friday because, oh man, I can think of, Timo Cruz's inspiring speech when they're sitting there doing their work instead of practicing, compared that to Denzel Washington's speech. Now, obviously, the star power of Denzel is going to always overpower that. Oh, man. Yeah, we're going to get into that one. We'll have to get into that one and we'll have to dive deep into that comparison because that's a good one. I wasn't expecting to get asked that. Was not expecting to get asked that whatsoever. But comment and let me know your top 5. Top 5 football movies of all time. Doesn't matter from what era. Doesn't matter from when. Hell, you can say it was the longest yard in 1974. Back when, Richard Kiel, Jaws from Moonraker, the old James Bond movie for those of you who don't remember from the Sir Roger Moore days. Clotheslining someone. I think the line wasn't, I think I made him shit himself. I was like, I think he broke his fucking neck. And I still... Because they're, I don't know. I do not know. But, yeah. What is your greatest fear, young man? Absolutely. Yeah, Denzel's was probably better. Denzel's was definitely probably better. But, I mean, both presented great messages. You can't go wrong with either when it comes to inspiring. You can't go wrong with either when it comes to bridging the gap of race and color in sports. So we still struggle with those issues to this day, unfortunately. But yeah, left side, strong side, always going to be iconic. But with that being said, y'all, I don't have any more topics for the rest of the night. Like I said, it's a pretty dry week in terms of news. I guess sometimes it's a good thing when you're a content creator, especially as a former reporter. You don't have to be on edge 24/7. But be sure to check out the sponsor, Clean Eats. Go order at cleaneats.com. If you stop into one of the 3 Knoxville locations, tell them Cory sent you. Can't guarantee. I don't think they'll get you a discount, but I think they'll like me more, so I'm cool with that. But thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you all again on Friday. Tune in. We're gonna aim to go live at 8:39 Eastern time, and then obviously with football season right rear in the corner, we'll be going live on the weekends as well. So subscribe. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Comment on YouTube to boost the algorithm. Hit that bell button so you get notified of when I drop my weekly live content, and also some recorded segments that we're going to be starting here soon, much like Cory One-on-One. We're going to be doing tub talks, which is going to involve sitting in an ice tub, and that is going to be really fun because I haven't done that in so long. I think I've only done that once in my life anyway, but be sure to support the channel. We're going to be having more news come out and how you can do so financially if you choose so soon. Be tuned, subscribe, like. We'll see you in the next one.